Well, good afternoon, Britain. It is now 2:38. You're with me, Emily Carver and Tom Harwood. Now we're going to turn straight to Mark White, a Home and Security editor, who has some breaking news for us. Mark.
Well, astonishing news that has come through now from, again, the police who've been speaking to local reporters there, saying that they believe 2 survivors have now been found from this Air India 787 aircraft. 1 survivor found at the scene of the impact of this aircraft, and another survivor, it seems, has been found at the hospital, had been taken to the hospital among dozens of other people who were injured on the ground. And it seems now that the indications are that this person was not someone injured on the ground, but someone who was on the aircraft. Now, earlier, of course, we brought you that news from the police commissioner in Ahmedabad, who said that they believed, all indications were, there were no survivors on this aircraft. But we did say that people will hope against hope that there's always this chance of a miracle. So if confirmed, these are reports, and we've got to just put the caveat out there. Sometimes these reports are subject to change depending on what a particular police chief has been told from the scene. But certainly an encouraging piece of news indicating that 1 survivor has been found at the scene of this plane crash, and that another survivor may have been found among the injured in hospital.
I mean, just astonishing news. And you do sometimes read about these absolute miracles of planes dropping out of the sky and somehow someone, anecdotally, usually someone towards the back of the plane rather than the front of the plane, seemed to get sort of the last bit of impact. I've read cases of people sort of falling out of planes and dropping into canopies of trees and managing to be survived in that way. I mean, sometimes things that seem utterly impossible or improbable really do happen. But these are still initial reports, and as far as we can see, the police have found 1 survivor they think is from the plane, and the other survivor of the 2 could have been from the building. But it's so difficult because everyone's so sort of muddled up when a plane smashes into a building. Yeah,
absolutely, and the sort of the forward motion of that aircraft as it's smashing into buildings in that sort of residential area home to so many of these medical students. Its aviation fuel is being spilt everywhere, is on fire. Passengers that would have been on the plane, as you say, would find themselves embedded into buildings. I mean, it's just utterly horrific. Now, it's possible, looking at the images that we saw earlier of the back end of the plane. I mean, it is the very end of the aircraft that appears to have clipped it, because, of course, the shots that we saw of the final moments of that aircraft when it was coming in show it with the nose up, as if it's trying to extend the glide, get a bit more air over the wings and just try and stay airborne as long as possible. And you see from that very picture there, that end section has sheared off, and so not caught up in the huge explosion in fireball. So it's possible, perhaps, that people who were sat towards the rear of the aircraft, where that aircraft split, they've been thrown free or something like that. Again, we're just speculating.
That would be incredible, wouldn't it? I just want to let people know that Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister, of course, whose parents from India, he's made a statement. He says he and his wife are deeply shocked and distressed by the tragedy. He says there's a unique bond between our 2 nations. Our thoughts and prayers go out to British and Indian families who have lost loved ones today. So that's Rishi Sunak, former UK Prime Minister, with his message to those who've been involved in this incident. But yes, that news that potentially there could be 1 survivor who managed to survive that plane crash. I mean, against all odds.
What a miracle if that is true. Mark, do stay with us. We're hearing more and more about this plane crash every single minute. But let's cross over now to our political editor, Christopher Hope, who has more that he can tell us.
That's right, Tom and Emily. Now, the UK government is getting organised of trying to deal with these horrific images you're seeing on screen from Ahmedabad. We can say now that the UK is sending 4 air accident investigators now, or tonight, to Ahmedabad. They're flying from London Heathrow, arriving tomorrow afternoon. The Department of Transport has told us this: the Indian Air Accident Investigation Bureau has accepted the UK's Accident Investigation Branch's offer of assistance, and we're deploying a team of 4 inspectors to Ahmedabad. The government is also sending a liaison person to Gatwick Airport, where, of course, it's likely that families are gathering there to try and get some news of what happened to their members of the family who may be on their way, of course, from Ahmedabad to Gatwick. So the Department for Transport, which is now getting involved with the investigation of what caused this dreadful crash, all sorts of speculation on social media and elsewhere, but the UK is getting involved, and this is all part of the process. India and the UK have an agreement to support each other in times of air crashes. This is quite normal.
So that is a significant piece of news there, sort of cooperation on this scale between British and Indian authorities too. I mean, this is something that that shows that there will be a strong response, perhaps diplomatically, politically, to all of this. Let's not forget, this is just weeks after the UK and India signed an unprecedented and comprehensive free trade agreement with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi striking up some sort of relationship.
Yeah, that's right. Increasingly, we are, they're a close ally of ours. They always were, and increasingly so with that trade deal being signed by Sir Keir Starmer and Narendra Modi. We don't know yet if we'll hear on camera from Sir Keir Starmer later. We, of course, have heard from Rishi Sunak, the former UK Prime Minister, who's of Indian heritage, in recent minutes. No question that we have got a close relationship, and when these things happen, it does tend to happen that countries do liaise together. There's a bilateral deal with India, and that's now being triggered with the sending of 4 air accident investigators from the UK tonight to Ahmedabad, and of course 1 liaison individual going to Gatwick to help families there.
OK, Christopher, thank you so much. Christopher Hope, our political editor there in Westminster, for us with that breaking news. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be back very shortly. Stick with us.